So boundaries can be that big word that can be one of the most challenging things that we can embrace in our recovery, especially during the holiday season. And especially during the holidays, we have to learn how to set and enforce those healthy boundaries to keep us on track with our recovery. Well, welcome to the Celebrate Recovery official podcast. Now, this is a podcast of life change stories, courage and hope, and leadership wisdom centered around the Celebrate Recovery principles. Celebrate Recovery is a ministry based on the Beatitudes where Jesus helps us to face our hurts, hang-ups, and habits so that we can effectively live out God's calling for us in our life. I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ. I struggle with drugs and alcohol and perfectionism. My name is Rodney, and welcome today to the Celebrate Recovery official podcast. Excited to have this topic about boundaries. Boundaries can sometimes get a bad rap, like we're trying to punish people, but it's so important that we understand that boundaries are to protect ourselves and keep us on track. And so I've got a near and dear brother in Christ, Dickie Everman, who's the Southeast Regional Director with Celebrate Recovery. And Dickie is so graciously agreed to come on and be with us here today. Dickie, thanks for being with us today, man.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad to be on today. Thanks for asking.
Yeah. So why don't you introduce yourself and we'll jump into a conversation here, man.
Sure. My name's Dickie Everman, and I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ. My struggles have been with drugs and alcohol. And today I probably struggle with codependency and a little bit of anxiety.
Hey, Dickie.
And I am the Southeast Regional Director. Yeah. You already said that, though, didn't you?
That's all right. That's all right. It's good for them to hear that again. You do a fabulous job managing just an incredible region of some great, great people, and God's doing some great things in the Southeast. So maybe we'll have some folks listening from the Southeast give you a shout out. But so Dickie, we're talking about boundaries. You know, the holidays are tough. And it's already tough enough. And there's so many different dynamics that can be thrown at us. Maybe we kind of start the conversation with what are some of those things that can kind of be thrown at us in the holiday season that would even maybe cause us to even think about boundaries? What are some of those dynamics that you've seen in your own life that can be a little bit tricky and challenging?
Well, I think one of the things for me, you know, I've seen in the past is you know, when you get married and you have like two families to go to and dinners and all that, and trying to figure out which ones to go and what time and all that. And even when you have adult kids, you know, I've got adult kids now, and you know, I have to be sensitive to their needs.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to juggle everything. You know, me and Juanita, my wife, we're actually empty nesters now, which I love it. But then again, I love to see our kids come over too and spend time with us, or us go to their house. But I have to respect their time also, and also, you know, if we can't work out something, then, you know, I'll have to set that boundary, you know. Well, look, looks like this is going to be the best day and time for us to do it. So hopefully you can come. Yeah. You know, and I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings because I want them all to be there. Yeah. But as our family grows, you know, that can be difficult, setting up a certain time to meet.
Yeah, it can be. And I think that when you were talking, Dickie, it just kind of, the word expectations, right? What are my expectations, you know, in interaction, time, expectations of how much time you're going to spend with me, how much time I'm supposed to spend with you. And so, just kind of leaning into those expectations and make sure they're realistic expectation, I'm guessing.
Yeah, that's really important because, you know, I've got, you know, it's, one of the things that I struggle with when our kids was young, they spent all the time with us, you know, and of course they was there, they lived there, they got up on Christmas morning, and so we've had to adjust that some, and we've had to just try to like I said, be sensitive to everybody's time. But I do have to put up those healthy boundaries for myself and for my wife, because, boundaries are a form of self-care.
Yeah.
And I need to make sure I'm healthy.
Yeah.
And one of the hardest things to do is to go to somebody and set that boundary. But you can do it in a godly and a loving way also.
Yeah.
And that's something I have to, sometimes if I let it sulk and something's going on within me and I don't like the way the conversation is going or the direction somebody is, I can't make it at that time. I can let it fester inside of me, and then I'll blow up.
Some of those old things start creeping back in.
Exactly. Or I could pray about it, and I say, how do I best address this? How can I, in a godly way, just talk to my daughter or my son and address it.
Take a time out. If I need to go to the bathroom for a minute to kind of catch my breath and just kind of reset my thinking, I'm kind of getting, escalated in my heart. Yeah. So we have that kind of the home environment and there's plenty of dynamics with that. I'm kind of, just as you're talking, Dickie, I'm kind of thinking about, a lot of times in our recovery meetings, there is a little bit of a extra protection there because we're not gonna do things that you would normally see in the outside world where it's a safe environment. But I'm thinking about the people that are going to work and they're in an environment, especially during the holidays, when there might be some of those outside things that can kind of creep in, probably more holiday parties and some things that are happening there. I'm just thinking about especially in the area of addictions, what are some things that we can do to kind of protect ourselves? Remembering boundaries are to put a bubble around myself, not to put them on other people, but to put them around myself to protect myself. What are some of those things that I can do, like in that environment where I might be around some situations that could be triggering or could pull me into some unhealthy places that I don't want to go back to?
Right. Well, for me, early on in my recovery, there would be times where I still had to be around some people who's drinking. Some of my family still drink, and so there was times I had to be around them. And Mom and Dad used to love to do fish fries out in the backyard, and when it's a nice day and everything, and I didn't want them to feel uncomfortable with me being there. So one of the things I always did, I always made sure that my car wasn't blocked in. It always, I always had a way to leave. And I'd already talked to my wife about different situations, and if I get to the point where I need to leave, she don't need to question me. She just needs to go because it's threatening me. It's a threat to me. So, and she did a great job with that, and my parents did too. They understood. And when they did drink, they would keep it in plastic glasses. I don't know. Like I didn't know what he was doing.
You weren't smart enough. What I love about what you just said, Dickie, and that's so good for those listening in, you had an escape route, right? And kind of an action plan. If I need to escape, it doesn't mean that people are trying to hurt me, but I'm in a space where I'm feeling triggered or whatever. I've got an escape route where I don't have to go involve a ton of other people to get out of there. And then you had a safe person, and in this case, it was your wife, where you just knew, she knew if you said it's time to go, it was safe enough that you didn't have to give her an explanation. She just knew, okay, I trust your judgment, and it's time to go. Yeah.
And a lot of times I wasn't in danger of drinking, but one of the things that was happening was I was getting antsy or just discontent. And when those flags go up, that's when I knew it was time for me to go, And yeah, and mom and dad understood that too. I made sure that they understood it also. So that's part of the boundary too, is letting them know what might happen. I want to come. I want to have a good time with you all. But if I feel like I need to leave, I need to leave.
Yeah.
And I'm nothing against you guys because I love you.
This
and
is
you're
for my
family.
recovery. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's
and
so good.
One of the things. Yeah.
So I'm Dickie, as you're talking, that's such a good word for those that might be in some environments. Sometimes we have corporate, we work in business and we're going to be in some environment situations, and we just have to be mindful of that. Almost expect the unexpected, right? And just have an action plan. And the outside world's their job is not to protect me, and so I have to be strategic in protecting myself. And I like the idea. Maybe you can speak into this. How did your sponsor play into that when you knew you were going into those environments that would be a little bit wishy-washy and a little bit potentially unstable, in just kind of preparing the way to go into the battlefield, so to speak? How did that play in with accountability team and sponsor? How did you involve them in that process?
Yeah, we normally met on a regular basis. So if something was coming up, whether it was me going on vacation or whether it was me going to a party, a cookout, or even a Christmas party where I was going to be around, I would always let him know what was going on. And I'd ask for prayer from him also, and any tips that he may have to help me, get through it, because I don't want to seclude myself and lock myself away.
Sure.
Because that's not safe in itself. I've always said the scariest place for me is be up in my own mind by myself.
Yeah, I've been there. That's a very scary place. Yeah. Yeah.
So, our accountability partners and our sponsor is so important in our recovery.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. I was even talking with someone recently about this, and just, accountability is on our shoulders, and it's interesting to think about, but no one can hold us accountable. We can give people permission to hold us accountable, but we have to invite them into that. But just thinking about, how important that is to say, hey, I'm going into this environment, please pray. And then me owning that follow-up, rather than waiting on them. Hey, how'd it go? What's going on? Did you run into trouble? Me own that. If I reached out to them to circle back, to close that loop, to say, hey, I want to let you know things went well. Thank you for your prayer covering. I made it out of the neighborhood, quote unquote neighborhood, safely, and just wanted to kind of close that loop to let you know about that. And that seems like a pretty important thing, just to own that accountability loop in that process, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Because, you said it, I can't be kept accountable unless I want to be kept accountable. And I have to be open to that. I've had people in my life before where I've tried to keep them accountable, and unless they're honest with me and let me know what's going on, then I can't do it. So so that's something I had to make, that determination that I want to be held accountable, and I had to let somebody in and know what's going on with me on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And that's just healthy. That's healthy recovery, and healthy, especially during the holidays, can be stressful for anybody, especially if you lost a loved one. Not too long ago, within a year, that first on of everything can be really tough. And you just have to, I have to be okay with someone insensitive to them if they say, look, I don't feel like coming this year, and that's okay. I want them to be healthy, and it's some tough situations out there. I know our Christmas has changed since I lost my father, and since I lost a brother, and it's just changed some, but it's okay. We make it okay, and we make it all right with everybody. and we respect everybody's decision, whether they can come or not.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so good. And I'd love to, we're going to take a quick break here, but when we come back, Dickie, I'd love to pick up with, you hit on something, because I know there's people listening that are dealing with some loss and even kind of, when we think about boundaries, how do I protect my heart as I'm honoring the pain in that space? And so maybe we could speak into that, and maybe even connect on what people that don't have families in their life, or family of origin, direct family systems that they can go to, and what did those folks do? So when we come back, we'll continue that conversation, talking with Dickie Everman, the Southeast Regional Director with Celebrate Recovery. And when we come back, we'll continue the conversation on the holidays and what healthy boundaries look like. We'll be right back.
Are you and your church looking for practical tools to help you start and run a Celebrate Recovery in your church? Consider joining us for a Celebrate Recovery training conference online or in person. Visit our website at celebraterecovery.com for dates and times. And don't forget to connect with your Celebrate Recovery state representative. They are here to serve you as you walk through this process. Find a rep near you by visiting celebraterecovery.com/reps.
Welcome back. We're talking with Dickie Everman, the Southeast Regional Director of Celebrate Recovery, and having a great conversation around the holidays. They can be tough, and healthy boundaries. And right before we took a quick break, Dickie, you were just talking about your Christmas changed when you lost your dad. And I'd love you to speak into that a little bit more for those that are listening right now. And just even in my local ministry, so much loss and lots of grief and a lot of pain there. How, knowing that you've gone through a loss of your dad and going into the holidays, when we talk about boundaries and just kind of boundaries around your heart and your expectations, you're thinking, what did that look like practically for you, Dickie? And how did that change? And what were some things that you had to think about in that space?
I think, one of the main things is it was, things were going to change a little bit, and I had to be okay with that change. My mom's still alive, so she was struggling with the loss of her husband, and it's one of those things where, it's okay to be a little different. I had to be okay with changing things up a little bit. And, we used to go to my mom and dad's house, and that's where we celebrated Christmas and Thanksgiving and all that, the dinners and everything. And Mom, the first couple of years we did stay and do it at Mom's house. And but one of the things that changed a little bit is instead of her doing all the cooking, we jumped in and helped. What can I bring? I'll deep fry turkey, and my wife would cook a couple things. My adult children, they would cook some things too, and that way it wasn't as stressful on my mom.
That's good.
And vice versa with me. I had to ask for help. I can't expect myself to do everything. Sure, I want my kids to just have a great time. I want to serve them. I've got a servant's heart, but I have to allow them to help when they want to help too.
One thing,
because I really need it.
Yeah, and what I'm hearing you say, Dickie, it's so important for those listening that may be going through just a big shift and a big change from prior holiday seasons. Is that know my limits and listen to my heart, listen to my body, listen to my mind, and know that it's okay. And just even speaking that out loud, it's okay that I can't do everything that I used to at the same pace, that my heart may not be able to do that. My body may not be able to do that because it's gone through this significant loss, and just trust that and go at the pace that you need to. And I love what you said. Don't be afraid to ask for help, whether that's practically or emotionally or just let other people into that. That's so good, man.
Yeah, it's one of the things that now today what we do is Mom is actually we did go ahead and sell her house, and she's moved into just a retirement, not sort of like a retirement home, not a nursing home, but she still does her own thing, still cleans and things like that. But she's got an apartment, and they cook for her and everything. But sometimes if we're not having something at our house on the holiday, sometimes she'll want us to come up there and eat with her there at what they call it, the big house. We'll eat there at the big house with her, or if we decide to have it on Christmas Day here at my house, she'll come here, and she still drives and everything. So as long as it's not raining and dark, she's fine with driving. I only live 10 minutes from her, so
figure out a new rhythm.
Yeah. So we like to try to have it at our house now, and allowed to change some, but I think one of the biggest things too, we have to be okay with the change. We have to be okay if something like Mom was going through a tough time there at first. And I have to be okay if she didn't want to come. Or she didn't want to attend. Yes,
that's so good.
I need her. I want to support her, and I can't support her trying to make her do things.
Make sure we see, and that's so good for all of us to know too, that if we're around other people that are going through some significant loss or some significant changes, just be aware of where they are and honor where they are, and just love them where they are. That's so good. One of the things, Dickie, that I think is, and I'd love to hear your wisdom and your heart on this, that sometimes, the holidays there's so many outside expectations of what the holidays are supposed to look like. And even talking about family, there's some people that don't have a family to go to for dinner, right? And even the perception of what the media and seeing on commercials and Hallmark movies, that image of what Christmas is supposed to be like. I wonder if you could just speak into just the realistic expectations of even the way I'm supposed to celebrate Christmas, and what some healthy ways to do that if I don't have a family system to go home to by blood family. I mean, could you speak into that?
Yeah. I think one of the main things, I have to try to stay positive because it is this season, the Christmas season, it's not about Santa Claus. It's not about gifts and stuff like that. It's about the gift Christ gave us, the gift from God. That's, I have to keep that in perspective for one thing, but also, one of the things we try to do is invite somebody to our dinners, especially if we know somebody don't have somewhere to go. A lot of times we'll try to invite someone to us, or somebody's moved here from out of town. At one time we had a family that moved from Atlanta up here to Kentucky, and so we pretty much just made them part of our family, and invited them in and everything. And
that's so cool.
And it's just you can also volunteer. There's all kinds of things to do to volunteer. The main thing, don't seclude yourself. And get in that negative mode. I have to wake up and ask for God's will be done in my life in the morning, and where can I spread joy? Even if I don't have my own family to go to, we've got something called Operation Happiness around here, where the 20th of December, there's going to be probably 1,000 people go through, families go through and get boxes of food and a turkey and coats and actually I'm heading up to the food court. We're actually serving chili probably to 500 to 600 people who come through there. So
that's amazing.
So it's one of those things where can I spread God's love.
Yeah.
You know,
that's so good.
In a positive way.
Yeah.
Because that makes you feel good when you do things like that also.
Well, otherwise, if the definition is, well, I'm supposed to be in a big family around a big table, getting gifts and opening presents and all that stuff, of course you're going to be disappointed. But if the perspective is, this is about Christ's birth, and how do I get outside of myself and serve other people, no matter where we are, right? I mean, no matter how dire our life is, we can find ways to give back. And maybe it's giving back at our local Celebrate Recovery. Hey, put me to work. What can I do this week to help? And that's what I love about Celebrate Recovery is even if we don't have a blood family, we have a forever family. I wonder if you could speak to that, just those that might be, maybe they're not even a part of Celebrate Recovery. What is it? What do you mean by forever family? And what does that look like? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, forever family. We call each other in our Celebrate Recovery forever family. One of the reasons we're there together, the mask comes off. It's okay to struggle with whatever you struggle with. I'm going to share my struggles because I love what Celebrate Recovery does. It makes it okay to share when you're hurting or when you're struggling with something. And, we're all forever family is, once I've turned my life over to Christ, then I've got a promise here. I'm going to be in heaven with the Lord and all the other people too, who's turned their life over to Christ.
Yeah.
And that's why we call each other forever family, because we're going to be forever family through eternity.
Yeah.
And that's so mind-boggling and just gives me, I just got cold chills just now thinking about it. And it's just amazing to think of that. But, and I have to tell on myself a little bit here, it gets real busy around this holiday and even at church, I work for the church. I'm a care pastor. I'm actually a recovery pastor there at my church. And I do men's groups and all kinds of groups, and I try to help set up here and there. But I was getting to where I was getting angry because things weren't where they were supposed to be. And the bottom line is I had to take a step back and think, there's a lot of things going on in that building this time of year. We have school that was celebrating things. We just started Upward Basketball. And there's several hundred in our town who's in that upper basketball and cheerleading. And we also, we had parties. I just had my leaders appreciation and volunteer appreciation dinner Sunday night. And I had to remember, everybody's busy. It's okay for things to be out of place every now and then. I've got to be able to think of the positive side of it. We're in relation. God calls us to be in relationship with each other. Yeah. And that's where we grow. That's where we grow in Christ also.
That's right.
Is spending time with others and other Christians.
Yeah.
And I had to reroute my thinking there for a little bit, Rodney.
Yeah. That's so good. And sometimes we can have all the stuff in the events and all that stuff, and we want it to be perfect and for good reasons. We have good intentions. We care about the people we're around. And we want it to be a good experience, but sometimes we can get the wrong thing as a lead foot, and we forget that the process is not as important as the people. And as long as we're together, and things are going to not go perfect, and back to those expectations, right? When those expectations are too high and unrealistic, and things start spinning out, it's no wonder we get anxious and get down, and we're very rigid, and our rigidity toward ourselves and what's happening actually causes us to be rigid toward those around us, and then we lose Dickie, right? Where'd Dickie go? He's so focused on the process that we're not connecting anymore, and that's the downside of that. So
yeah.
Well, Dickie, one last thing, just someone listening, and the holidays, they're hard. And what would be a word of encouragement that you would share with somebody that's listening that is maybe just thinking about, how am I going to get through this crazy, hectic holiday season? What would be something that you would share with them, Dickie?
I think spend time in prayer, but also reach out to people. Reach out if you're not a part of Celebrate Recovery. Find a Celebrate Recovery around you, and go to celebraterecovery.com and click on see our groups and find one in your area. Just visit it. You don't have to join it if you don't want to, but you can visit it and just see what it's like, and just know that there are people out there who love you and care about you. And we're all here together. I mean,
that's right.
One of the things I always say that, Christ told us, in this world you will have trouble, and we do have trouble, but take heart. I've overcome the world. And, we need to reach out to other people and get involved somewheres.
God is with us in the season. Even the very name, Emmanuel, God with us. He is with you, and you're not designed to face this alone. In fact, so much so that he would come in the form of a baby to be with you, to ultimately die on the cross, to carry whatever the troubles are that you're struggling with. So that's so good, Dickie. Thanks for sharing that, brother. Well, Dickie, thanks for your wisdom. Thanks for your heart, man. Always love talking to you and always get something out of our conversation. So thanks for sharing and giving our listeners just a few nuggets of your wisdom and your heart. And man, I'm praying for your holiday season with your sweet bride, Juanita. And
thank you.
Thanks for all that you do for Celebrate Recovery, my brother.
Well, thank you for asking me on here. I've really enjoyed it and talking to you and sharing. So, this is a blessing.
You bet. Well, thank you for our listeners. Thanks for being with us today. Hey, I just want you to know that if you're struggling, you too can find freedom from your hurts, hangups, and habits. If you'd like to find a Celebrate Recovery group that Dickie was speaking about, just go to celebraterecovery.com/groups and plug into a group near you. Maybe you're in the Southeast and you can jump into Dickie's group there, or some other groups in that area, or across the globe we've got groups. But hey, we love you guys. You're not designed to face this alone. Don't try to face this alone. Join us at a local meeting. We'd love to join you in the process we call recovery. Till then, we'll see you next time. God bless.